Hello, you salmon, egg, muskrat munchers. How's it going? Friendly neighborhood Kamika Z coming at you live via recording in Arizona. So I had a few minutes between things for work, and I figured I'd make some observations. I had a meeting with a couple of my former peers yesterday for work stuff, and I got the feeling that one of them wanted to talk afterwards. So after the meeting ended, I didn't hang up on the call, and he kind of stopped me and went, "Okay, hold on, we got to talk." And so we chatted for like the next 35 minutes. And he wanted to check up on me and see how I was doing and how I was handling and coping with things. And I told him that I was doing good. I had made my peace with things. I was okay where I was at. He didn't seem to be okay, though, with things. He said the more he thinks about it, the less certain he is that it's a good call. And I guess he's been going to my former boss and saying that I still need to be a manager. So if I'm not a QA manager, I need to be a dev manager. And he told me that I had a lot of support from people on his team that he had been hearing about, and I got really worried about him, and I kind of gave him a bit of a I don't want to say a tongue lashing. I tried to paint the picture for him for what his job means, what his role means, because he's rather new at being a development manager. And I first explained it by saying, if we were to approach the job like an actor would with a role, that if I was playing a QA manager, I think I did everything that I was supposed to as a QA manager. I played the role perfectly. And that role didn't work out, and I'm on to the next role. And the next role doesn't require me to worry about the same things that I used to. So I'm not worrying about them. I'm trying my best not to worry about them. But then I explained it to him that he's in a different role. He used to be one of the senior engineers in the department, and now he's a manager. And I said, as a senior engineer, you are absolutely welcome to question strategies and directions and things of that nature. But as a manager, it's really your job to support and promote and push those strategies. You can, quietly disagree with them, but pushing for a change in those strategies is kind of the wrong thing to do, at least at this organization. I was able to glean that from my example, and there's a story I like. I will admit that it's more rooted in Judeo-Christian theology than it is in real life anecdotal evidence, but I'll do my best to interpret it for anyone watching. There's a story of a war going on, and between these two factions of people, and this is before like guns and such, right? So it's just swords and spears and really just hard strategy to be implemented. And the supposed good guys of the story, the people who seem to be more on the right, come across a foe's stronghold. And the more they look at the stronghold, the more they realize that they can't get in. There's no way to get through. There is no weakness. There is no obvious flaw. No one built a back door into it. It is just impenetrable. And they know that if they were to attack, they would just all die. So they said, okay, well, we got to be cunning about this. We can't just go brute force and have this work. So what they did is they had some people who looked a lot like the enemy, who had clothes and such that looked like the enemy's uniforms. And they said, okay, we want you to take all this wine, all this alcohol, up to that base and say that you've escaped and you stole a bunch of our supplies, and try to get them to have a party to celebrate. And so they did. These you could maybe call them defectors, went back with all this wine, all these supplies, and said, hey, we just escaped that army that's outside your door. Let us in. We can get drunk. We can party. There's no way they can get in, so what's the problem? And the people inside the city were like, great, that's an awesome idea. Let's have a party. So they get smashed. They get absolutely drunk and plastered. And as they're drunk, these defectors open up the gates of the city from the inside, and this army floods in and takes it over without anyone dying. Like everyone, all the bad army, I guess I'll call them, they wake up the next morning with hangovers, and they see that they're surrounded internally in the base, and they freak out and run away. And nobody dies. And after they get outside, and the good army closes the doors and secures the stronghold, this bad army is on the outside going, well, crap, what are we supposed to do now? That's our place. We need to get it back. So what they do is they take a bunch of the people from their army and say, we want you to go and pretend to be defectors going to join that army, because they allow that kind of crap. And we want you to take in a bunch of wine and alcohol and supplies. And this worked on us, so obviously it's going to work on them. But instead of them just getting drunk, we're going to poison the wine so that they'll die. And so these defectors were like, yeah, cool. And they went up to the city, knocked on the door, and said, hey, we'd like to defect. You guys had that really sweet, cool move. We brought some wine of our own. Do you want to let us in? And this good army was like, yeah, cool, come on in. And when this bad army defectors were like, hey, or fake defectors were like, hey, let's drink some of this wine, the good army was like, yeah, cool, go ahead and have a drink first. And these defectors were like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, it's totally fine. Just drink some first. And so when the fake defectors drank the wine, they died, and proved to the good army that what was going on was less of a ruse to promote life and more of a thought of absolute destruction. And they made the observation that if it would poison someone in the bad army, surely it would poison someone in the good army. And so they wouldn't be caught in those kinds of traps or snares. And I think of that because it's a very similar situation with this guy, this former peer. He's going in the very similar direction to the way that I went, that led to me being demoted, and my former boss was not the most approachable, and has not been the most approachable for the last while. And so I had to kind of scold this guy a bit and say, look, dude, your role right now is to not question and to not push back and to not suggest things completely contrary and opposing to what your boss wants, that you know your boss wants. You should take my example and learn from it. He took my doing this as a complete threat against him and essentially got rid of me. You shouldn't have to drink the same poison to realize it's going to hurt you too. Your new role is as a manager, and you should be supporting and promoting that, and getting rid of concerns from your people rather than supporting and uplifting those concerns. And he said he understood. He didn't really seem to like it too much, but he said he understood. And yeah, I told him that for now I'm happy with where I'm at, because in the country right now we have unemployment rates that are on par with the Great Depression. I'm happy to have a job at a time when a lot of people don't. I'm happy to have a source of income when a lot of people don't. And I'm not going to complain about that or try to do anything to get rid of that scenario. And I did let him know that there's likely no future at the company for me where I am anything more than what I currently am. And if I push too hard, I can end up getting demoted even further. And so, yeah, it was an interesting conversation where I found myself trying to use the wisdom that I gained from this experience to prevent a colleague from making the same mistakes, regardless of how right or true it feels. And I'm not entirely certain I feel great about that. Yeah, but during the entire discussion with him and the other peer who wasn't on that part of the call, I was basically, because they're both fairly new to administrative work at the company. One of them, like I said, he's a new manager, used to be a programmer. The other one is just a new hire from outside the company. And so they asked me to put together documentation of how the current process of things work in a flow chart. And so I spent a lot of yesterday doing the same work that I had done as a manager. And after the meeting, they were like, hey, would you mind doing a future proposal for where we need to be and where we want to be, with an in-depth dive and a flow chart to back it up, explaining what it looks like once we get there. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I've been doing that this morning, but I noted that I'm doing more managerial work now that I'm not a manager than I was as a manager. And the irony of that it was just too sweet to not bring up. But also I'm a little bit concerned for these guys, these two former peers, because the one who's new to the company, as I was showing where we were at, and he was asking, well, why are you doing this, or why are we doing that? He started developing the same concerns that when I brought up, I got in trouble. And it was very difficult for me to try to dissuade him from having those concerns. And I'm worried that by meeting with me, it's going to seem like I am gathering forces or brainwashing or something stupid like that, when all I'm doing is answering questions and filling in blanks to the best of my ability. And I am doing what I can to just not be a consultant or even a manager of any kind of work. I mean, a consultant even feels a little too strong of an approach to take, because I'd be whispering in their ears, and I don't want to be whispering in ears. I want to do automation and be left alone. so I'm at a bit of a it's a scenario I wish I wasn't in, but I'm in it. And it might seem like I'm helping these guys based off of their requests, but it could be interpreted as something else entirely. So, yeah, at this point, I think I've gone through my entire year's supply of stress, and I don't really care what happens at this point. If I get canned, fine. If I don't, fine. Um, but I'm just kind of taking it piece by piece and moment by moment. I can't even take it day by day because that's too much. But today has been kind of a highly anticipated day for me because I've ordered so many things on Amazon for different projects and to help get my new work system up and going, some cords and components, that even though I've ordered them all on different days, like 8 of the things that I ordered are coming today, or say that they're coming today. So some of the PVC connectors will come in next week, but I can get so much done after today that I should have some cool things to show. But I did do a recording yesterday with Mobile Knowledge for the testing software tester video series that I uploaded. And then I think the next one that I go into is scripting, like shell scripting and maybe some basic Python scripting. But yeah, I'm excited to do those, and I really want to do them on this new system where it'll be hopefully a little bit easier to make those and upload those and have them in a good environment. Anyway, I wanted to give you an update, let you know that today I'm doing really, really good despite the potential issues which have been coming up, and I am eager for today to come and go, and for what it means for the rest of this week and for middle of next week. I got to order some canvas still and some of those canvas snaps and a way to attach them. But after the canvas, the snaps, and then some sort of additional covering for the top, I'll be ready to hammer this out and build this canopy. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're happy. Hope you're not having weird dreams, and I hope that you're not hearing things right before you fall asleep like I am that sound a lot like someone slamming a phone book onto a counter or a table, or shouting of sorts. Anyway, keep smiling. Make sure you help others remember that as well. And we'll see you in the next video.